Welcome to virtual lunch at the Exhibit Marketers Cafe. It is Tuesday. It is that time again. And if you are one of our regulars, welcome back. We love seeing you here every week. And if this is your first time at virtual lunch, welcome as well. I know we had some new people express interest this week, so hopefully we've got some new faces here. So I'm going to go ahead and just ask you if you would like to go ahead and introduce yourself in the comments, put in your name and where you're from. And if you haven't seen this before, we have a really slick system here called StreamYard that I use. And so we can put that up on the screen. So if you share any comments or thoughts, we can put that up. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Our theme for today is creativity and innovation. And so we've got a special guest here that's going to join us in just a few minutes to talk about some innovation and creativity that she's been doing in her business lately. But I want to go through some of the industry related news first. So it's been interesting watching the what do I want to say? The variations in what different cities are doing and what they're allowing. It's going to make our industry that much more challenging going forward because you just don't know from one city to the next, what to expect when the events are going to open back up again. For example, oh, and by the way, my husband, Alan, is behind the scenes and he's going to be putting up links. So the first one I want to share is Georgia. The governor of Georgia issued an executive order. And the link that you're going to see is a link to actually go download or read the PDF. But if you scroll all the way down on the PDF to page 36 is where it starts with the specifics for conventions. And they're actually opening up as of July 1st. So his executive order says that conventions and conferences can begin again with stipulations. And so some of those things, of course, are the standard, what we think of the signage, the masks, having contactless systems for everything, registration, anything that you're going to do. They also suggest plexi barriers, which, some people have said that for trade shows. And I'm like, well, what's the point if you're going to have a plexi barrier? It's like being in a little glass cage in your booth. So anyway, but that may be more for like registration or something. So I don't know. And then the most interesting thing that they propose in Georgia is if there's more than one event going on in the building to keep your attendees separate from the others. Well, how's that going to work? Because obviously, you think about the Georgia World Congress Center. If you've ever been there, it's huge. Okay. There's all these different ballrooms, all these different show halls. If you've got more than one event going on in the building, I'm not sure how you're going to keep anybody from crossing paths unless you physically put barriers like you can't go outside this section of the building. And then, of course, the fact that you're staying at different hotels and you're still interacting with people at your hotels. I'm not quite sure they thought that all through. But the other kind of intimidating thing in there is that any violations are considered a misdemeanor. So it's like, not too comforting to want to have an event there. So anyway, but at least they're trying to get started. Also, let's see, where is that? MGM is bringing back more hotels. We've got a link for that too, Alan. MGM has announced they're opening up some more of their hotels. As you may remember, we talked about last week how they're going to open the Strip in stages. So next up is the Luxor and Mandalay Bay. And they're going to be both open by July 1st. So I think one's opening next week and then the other one opens on July 1st. So, but again, it's going to be very limited capacity. They are not announcing that they're open for conferences yet in Vegas. So it'll be interesting to see about that. Oh, and then Alan, go ahead and put up that CNBC article. This one was interesting. This what the headline of the article is that the $100 billion industry is restarting, talking about, I mean, it was all about us in the conventions and trade show world. But they were featuring about Orange County Convention Center in Florida, in Orlando, and talking about how they're getting ready to reopen in July. But then they were talking about they're going to host a volleyball tournament. I'm like, that's not a convention. so anyway, but it's encouraging to know at least somebody is starting to do something. They also talked about the Sun Belt Builders Conference to be held at the Gaylord Texan in Texas. But the other interesting thing is that Texas is opening up, but yet their number of virus cases is still on the rise. So it's all going to be interesting to see how all of these pieces fit together, and just really what's happening. So, but on the flip side, in Chicago, they're still in limbo. And we've got there's a video that the local CBS station did in Chicago. And they actually, I mean, their reporting on this was pretty intense. I mean, they really are taking this seriously because McCormick Place is a huge revenue generator for the city of Chicago. And what they said in the story is that 16 out of 38 shows scheduled between now and the end of the year have canceled as of the time they did the recording. And that translates to $1.4 billion in lost revenue. Now, I know this is a really long link, so anyway. But like I said, this is Chicago's perspective on what's going on. And it's because the governor in Illinois is just, everything's in limbo. He hasn't given any dates. And basically he's still saying they're waiting on a vaccine, which is probably not going to be till next year. So then next link, Alan, is the letter to Governor Pritzker. The Go Live Coalition, which we've shared that link before on the virtual lunch. The Go Live Coalition put together a letter to the governor of Illinois asking that he, revise this plan. And again, this is a really long PDF, but it's good reading just to see what the industry is doing and to know how people in the various associations are trying to represent us to government and get it out there and just let people know what an impact that our industry has and how important it is to get business going again. And IMTS, we mentioned last week, it was breaking news. IMTS canceled their show for September, because, the governor hasn't made this timeline specific, and they didn't know, couldn't they? And so they just finally got to a point they felt they couldn't. So they canceled. But the irony there is that IMTS is manufacturing technology. And so that is an industry that really, by them coming together, it could really help to restart the supply chain and innovate. We're talking about creativity and innovation. That's where a lot of those guys guys and ladies in the manufacturing technology sector find new solutions. And so it's kind of ironic that show got shut down when it could have been so helpful to the overall economy in so many ways. The other thing that's interesting, they're actually going to do some kind of virtual. So we're waiting to see what that's going to be. But the other thing that I think that IMTS did that was really cool is that attendees have the option to either receive a refund or donate to a student program that helps students get into that industry. So I thought that was a really cool way to handle it. And don't even get me started on some shows that are not handling their cancellation and refunds and dealing with exhibitors and attendees well, because trust me, there's some that are doing it spectacularly and some that are not. So I won't name names. But then this is just another link that I want to share. It has nothing specifically to do with trade shows, but I did find it from the IMTS site. They actually have an article about the importance of the supply chain and getting it fixed. So if that's something that just intrigues you and you'd like to learn more about, that's a good link to follow. It's got a very in-depth article that's linked on that page about, what we need to do to fix the supply chain that's been, just glaringly brought out during this time. So anyway, okay. We're talking creativity and innovation. And I'm going to switch back over here. So we're talking creativity and innovation. I got just two quick links here that I want to share. The IKEA, if you are a fan of IKEA, they do all kinds of cool things. And if you've ever put together anything from IKEA, you understand their put it together, what do I want to say, instructions. But some of their designers at, it's a division of IKEA, I guess, but it's called Space 10, and they've come up with what they call the Growroom. And so you'll have to go click on this link just to see it. It's really cool. But it's plans that, and of course, you have to cut it and make it yourself. It's not something that they sell. Maybe they will eventually, but it's like a big sphere that's got, I think, 5 tiers to it. And so it's this big giant sphere that you actually walk into, and you can put plants on all the levels. And so it's something, like if you had a large corporate lobby, you could put it in there, have plants in there. The idea is for sustainability and to grow your own food. But I'm also thinking it's just aesthetically, it's just cool. And it brings in live plants into an environment. And, plants are also good for air purifiers. So there you go. You never know. Might actually be helping to heal everybody during this time. So that's a clever thing. The other creativity item that I want to share before we bring on our guest is called Camp Yampire. And Alan's going to put up that link, but I just discovered this over the weekend and I signed up. I think it's really clever. They're doing adult summer camps. And so the next one is coming up. I believe it's the weekend of the 26th, but it's just all kinds of clever things. They've got crafts, they've got outdoor activities. They've even got badges. You can collect badges for different activities, crafts, art, cooking, music, all different kinds of stuff. So it's just really kind of cool. But anyway, you may want to go check that out if you're looking for some creative things to do this summer on our staycation. So anyway, all right. So, and I'm going to put up just one more link and then I'm going to switch over to our guest. I've had some people asking about what system I use to do all of this broadcasting, all the behind the scenes stuff. It's called StreamYard. And I do have a referral link. If you use this link, you can get $10 off your first month. So I will put that up. So you've got that. But you can see it's just kind of cool. We've got the logo in the corner and we can put the comments on the screen and all that kind of fun stuff. So it's a great tool. So anyway, there's that. So I am now going to bring on our guest for today, who is also one of our virtual lunch regulars, Rama Beerfas from Lev Promotions. Welcome, Rama.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hi. Thanks for joining us on camera this time. I know you join us behind the scenes most every week, or you have until recently when you got so busy.
Yeah. So, things have gotten a little nuts.
Which is great. So tell us a little bit about what things have been like for you during this time and how you've been innovating and doing creative and different things.
Well, when all of this hit, because my niche market really is working with trade show exhibitors and event marketers on their promotional products campaigns, as you can imagine, when everything started getting canceled, all of a sudden orders that were ready to go into production also were canceled. So for a few weeks there, things slowed way down. And what happened was a lot of my suppliers, the people who provide the products that I recommend and sell to my clients, started pivoting. A lot of them were already doing things like hand sanitizers. So for
Mm-hmm.
them, it wasn't that much of a pivot. But as time has gone on, I'm seeing more and more PPE coming online, including with suppliers who've never done it before. So I was able to actually step in and help my clients continue reaching out to their clientele, even though the shows and exhibits were canceled, through programs that were outreach programs. But I was also able to help those who still had to come into the office, who still had to do whatever it was that meant putting them into a public setting, by providing PPEs for them. And that meant everything from hand sanitizers to masks to foot coverings to hand sanitizing stations and plexiglass stands. So the more we open up, the more PPE I've actually become involved with and have learned about. But for my clients who are still looking to reach out to either staff who are working at home and keep them motivated,
Mm-hmm.
and or to their own client base who they cannot meet in person right now, we've been putting together a lot of really interesting packages, care packages, work from home packages that we're able to drop ship out directly to their clients and or their staff in
Oh,
order to
cool.
keep their branding front and center. It's been a lot of fun. Some of these things have been really creative, with everything from cookies and personalized canisters to complete tech type packages for those people who'd never worked at home before and needed a little bit of an upgrade to their systems,
Ah. Hmm.
to just fun stuff, to trade show in a box, where we were sending for our clients to the people that they wanted to connect with as their clients and prospects some of the collateral material, marketing material, and informational material that they wanted to put in the hands of their clients but didn't get to because their shows and events were canceled. It's been fun. It's been very creative.
And I bet you're seeing a lot of innovation from the different clients of, I mean, just the idea of like sending a care package to your employees at home. That's something I hadn't thought of or hadn't heard about yet, but that's so clever and so thoughtful, because I know a lot of people really, I mean, you and I know because we work from home, but a lot of
Exactly.
people are really struggling with that. And to just have that care package arrive, I think it'd be like, oh, wow, this is so cool.
Exactly, especially with a lot of the items that we're able to personalize. So it's not
Hmm.
just a, hey, the company's thinking of you. It's, here is something that we created especially for you. And even if it's just a canister of cookies that you get in the mail that has your name on it and maybe some sort of a nice wish for, hope things are going well, whatever it is that you want to say on it, custom designed label with that personalization on it, people are responding so positively, and it's making them really rethink what promotional products could be and should be, and what they should be doing for the business as a whole.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's something that I've seen across the board, is that because of our restrictions and the pressure that we're all under, it's like the creativity is just mushrooming. It seems like people are getting so creative and thinking way outside the box that maybe they have never thought like that before. So
Exactly.
what are some of the things I mean, obviously the hand sanitizer, the PPE stuff, but what are some of the other things that you've seen that are really trend, and maybe cookies? what?
Cookies, brownies, chocolates, nuts, anything that's edible is really popular right now. And, we can't keep up with those particular orders. But as far as trending, and I think we're probably going to start pivoting away from that a little bit more in very soon, actually. But really, it's been mostly a lot of tech items, as we're seeing people,
Mm,
things like earbuds, wire, whether it's wireless or wired or whatever it is, to help people stay connected as they're doing their meetings on whatever platform that they're using.
right.
We're seeing things even just like low tech stuff, like like mugs and
Okay.
tumblers and things, so that people can keep it on their desk and still feel like they're connected back to the office because they've got something branded on their desks. We're seeing Bluetooth speakers. We're seeing
Hmm.
also even mice. let them have a branded mouse when it's wireless.
Oh,
And
interesting. Huh.
so, yeah, it just depends on the company, what they're doing as far as budget. What we're finding is that a lot of the creativity we've been trying to get our clients to do, I think probably because a lot of their events have canceled, which means that the budgets that went along with them, at least part of them, have come back in-house to them, so that they weren't spending the money on the travel, it was coming back to them. So they were able to put some of that money and into more creative promotional solutions, and what they're seeing is the results of that. And I think it will also make a change in what we see going forward from those companies that are forward thinking enough to realize that throwing a pen at someone as they're walking by your booth is not necessarily a good promotional solution. It might be a great promotional product, but it's not a promotional solution. And that's what we're trying to help our clients with, is those solutions. No matter what the economy is doing, no matter what the health of the country is doing, no matter what's going on politically, it's about marketing solutions.
Well, and again, it's kind of interesting how, we talked about the situations bringing out a lot of creativity. It also is finally providing the smack upside the head that a lot of people have needed. It's like, you and I have been telling them for a long time that handing out a pen is not really your best bang for the buck. And now they're finally seeing it's like, oh, we got to get more innovative with this.
Yep. I've been doing this for over 18 years, and it's amazing to me the number of people who think that a promotional product is successful because it's gone by the end of the show. That doesn't make it successful. It just means someone came along and either grabbed a big handful or people took a bunch, but it doesn't necessarily make it successful as a marketing tool. Right. And there's a difference.
Well, yeah. And that's the whole thing. Is it something, like you said, the travel mug or the earbuds or headset, whatever, Bluetooth speaker, something that they're going to keep, they're going to use, they're going to carry around, they're going to see it all the time. It's that, that constant memory trigger. Now, obviously, if it's your from your employer, it's different. But
exactly.
but if it is a trade show gift, I've got so many things I did at one point in time. I think you and I talked about this. I went through my travel bag of all the different things I have in my travel bag that are branded that I carry with me to every show or every conference that I go to, and you see those things over and over, and it's that repeated marketing that, they're getting so much more mileage out of it. I'm curious, though, a lot of the virtual shows, well, I can't say a lot, some of the virtual shows now are considering ways to do like a virtual care package or a goodie bag, like a goodie bag that they send out to attendees. Are you seeing much of that yet, or is that?
I've been doing that. Yeah, I've been doing that for a couple of months now since they started doing virtual shows and events. A lot of the clients that I had been working with on their physical shows and events have pivoted towards doing that. So the ones who are serious, who really got onto good platforms and decided to invest the time and the money to put on a good show virtually, have also invested that time and effort and money into producing basically a post-show gift, or even some sort of, in some cases, a pre-show incentive to attend. So we've been doing a lot of that for at least the last couple of months now.
I think that's a great idea because, again, it's that added touch point, and it's giving people something, or, sending them something that they can then interact with during the, like you said, sending pre-show that they can interact with during the actual event itself. So Exactly.
So, it doesn't necessarily have to be expensive. In some cases, the most expensive part is actually the shipping, just because we all know what shipping costs are doing nowadays. Or the shipping might actually be equal to whatever it is that you're sending. It doesn't have to be something expensive. It just has to be something that, well, what I say, creates strategic memorability. So it gives you something that's, that a friend of mine who's also in this business told me that her daughter recently went to some sort of a trade show, I don't know, for pets or something, because she's really into dogs. And there were about 300 or 350 exhibitors at this event. She came back home and had 80 pens sitting in her bag. Great. So she came home with 80 pens. Not one of them made any kind of an impression on her. She got one item from one of the people who was giving out stuff, and that made an impression on her because number one, she saw that not everyone who went to their booth just got this thing. They actually
Mm,
had to spend time and interact. So it goes back to what I've always counseled my clients. You don't and you shouldn't have something for everyone who walks by unless you have a really amazing budget and can afford to do that. Because
exactly.
in the end, something for just everybody is meaningless to pretty much everybody too. So
Yeah, and the only thing I've ever done like that is something small, like a little tip card for their wallet or something,
exactly. Yeah,
that gives them something, an easy takeaway. But yeah, there's no point in spending thousands of dollars buying all of these gifts and handing them out when
exactly.
they're really not going to make
And
any
even if
kind
you're
of
going to do
impression.
something like a pen or a tip card or something, and you know that there's going to be 10,000 people at the show, you don't need to order 10,000 of that item
No.
because not every single individual is actually going to come to the show. Heck, if they tell you 10,000 are registered, 10,000 won't even be there to begin with. So you need
And
to
they're not all going to come
understand
to
that.
your booth for
And
sure.
they're not all, yeah. I mean, there are metrics that I use that are, I wish I could say they're one size fits all, but they're not because it really depends. Is the
Yeah.
show audited? Is it not audited? Is it one of these family street fair events? Is it a very high level event? There's so many different things to take into consideration when you're looking at the numbers, and we try to suss that out as best we can with our clients to really give them the best advice on quantity so that we can come up with a budget where you're really picking something that's meant for your target market and not for
Yes.
everybody who might happen to walk by and reach out their hand and grab something as they're walking by your table or your booth.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, I have one other question for you that's a little bit off topic, but still kind of wrapping back to what we talked earlier. What about supply chain? We were talking about that with IMTS, and how have you seen a lot of things that, like, for instance, I learned a lesson this last week. I have two printers in my office.
I
They
saw
both
that.
died since Memorial Day, and every place is sold out. We finally
Yeah.
yesterday found, and I'm just going to give a public plug. I get no referral fee from it or anything, but B&H Photo in New York is fabulous. We buy
Oh, I know
our
them.
electronics and photo equipment and audio and stuff from them. Alan called them yesterday just to see if they had any idea when they might get any printers back in. And the guy was like, well, let me see what I could find. He actually found one they had in stock that was similar to what I was wanting, had some features that were added and some that it didn't have. But anyway, I now have a printer on the way. I'm so excited
Yay!
because basically it was like nobody could tell me when they might get them back in
I
stock. So what
know.
have you seen with supply chain?
Well, it's been interesting. And of course, the very first thing that was affected was all the PPE. So at the
Right.
beginning, if you wanted hand sanitizer, I was having to have my clients wait 8 weeks, 12 weeks before the stuff even got into my supplier. So that's an additional 1 to 2 weeks before it would be in their hands. So I'm seeing that starting to ease up.
Good.
Disinfecting wipes, masks were long, long wait times.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly it affected PPE, but it also started affecting tech products because, as we know, most of those do come in from China.
Mm-hmm.
So when things from China were not allowed in or were being held up in ports waiting for them to be offloaded from the boats and going through customs, and that was not happening for a while, a lot of the tech items started being low on inventory and we had to wait for those items. I'm starting to see that loosen up a little bit too, but every once in a
Good.
while, some of the more popular items, sometimes I have to search. But it's funny, even today, if I have a client who calls me and says, we need sanitizer, I'll say, okay, but it may take me a day before I can find a supplier that can get it to me in the configuration you want and in a reasonable time frame, because I'm literally having to call
Mm-hmm.
all my suppliers who I know are doing it, plus some that I see just started doing it, to see what do they have in stock right now? Do they have enough? Will it meet my client's needs? So it's making that whole proposal time even stretch out on those particular types of items.
But I think it's amazing if it only takes you a day or two to find somebody. That's still that's pretty
Yeah.
good.
At the beginning, it was taking 2 to 3 days, and then they were telling me, yeah, it could be 3 months before you get it. But hey, at that point,
Yeah.
it's whatever you needed, you
But it's
needed.
just
And
getting your name on that list so that you know that
exactly.
it's on the way. Unless it's like if it's for an event that's happening too soon and they can't
Good
make
luck
it
with
happen.
that. But that's
Then
going to be
yeah.
an issue for a lot of people, I think, for a while coming up now, is that
Yeah.
if you don't
So
really
the
keep
lesson
keeping.
is plan 3 to 4 months out at least.
Yep. I mean, I've always encouraged at least 2 to 4 months
Yeah.
because you just never know what's going to come up. But now, especially if you're not planning really 3 months in advance, you may get the stuff in a week and a half. You may not
Yeah.
get it for that 2-3 month time
Yeah.
period, depending on what it is.
Well, and also have a plan B, C, and D. So it's like if you
Exactly.
can't get hand sanitizer, what is some other item that you would like to give away instead? And then,
Exactly.
have all these other backup ideas.
Exactly.
So,
And I'm actually counseling. It's funny because a year ago, I was counseling a lot of my clients to do hand sanitizer, which is kind of against the grain for me because I always tell my clients you don't want anything liquid at a trade show because you want to make sure
yeah.
people, but hand sanitizer is so small, it's usually
And
not
it
an
goes in your
issue.
311 bag, so you're good.
Exactly, exactly. And most people will use it, and if they leave it behind, they leave it behind, but they do remember that someone gave them something they used the whole time at the
Yes.
show. And I didn't see that being given out at shows as often as I thought it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's going to be a hot new item. It's going to be like pens, and every third booth, you're going to get someone handing you a hand sanitizer. So I'm actually pushing my clients away from something that up until, 18 and a half years in this business and up until last year, 6 months ago, I was telling them hand sanitizer is always a really good option. Now they're hearing me say, stay away from that for a while
Yeah,
because
yeah,
everyone's going to
exactly.
be
Well,
getting it.
it's become cliche. So,
Exactly.
get a little more creative.
Exactly. Exactly. Let's find something else that no one else is doing. So,
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Rama, thank you so much for being with us. Alan's going to put up in the comments, he's going to share your link. Oh, he's already on it here.
there
So
it is.
you can connect with Rama at levpromotions.com. And if you're looking for something for your next virtual or physical event or for your employees or whatever, give Rama a call and she will track it down for you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today, Marlis. It was a lot
Oh,
of fun, as
thank
always.
you. Thank you so much, Rama. I appreciate you being here and keep up the great work.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right. So we are just about wrapped up. I did remember one link that I forgot to share earlier. The Live Events Coalition is doing an industry survey. So they would like your help in sharing your thoughts and where you're at during this time. So Alan's going to share that link here real quick for that survey. I'm going to put that up. And the last thing I want to just say is that I read an article recently that said, right now, people are starved for hope. And how can you provide hope or share solutions or just something that helps your audience, whether it's your employees, your customers, your prospects, whoever, what can you do to help provide hope and security and comfort to those people? So, I just want to say that I hope that these virtual lunches have provided that for you, that you felt like you get some hope. I mean, yes, sometimes we have some bad news to share, but hopefully overall you've been getting feelings of hope and encouragement and new resources. I mean, like today we heard a lot of great new tips and ideas from Rama. So please come back and join us next Tuesday. We will have another special guest. We will be hearing some of the inside track of what's going on in Europe. We've got somebody coming into the cafe all the way from Italy to tell us what's going on in Europe these days and how they're getting things restarted. So be sure and join us next Tuesday right here in the Exhibit Marketers Cafe for virtual lunch. And so we will see you then. Bye. Have a great